You ever stop and wonder what would happen if students had a real say in how their schools are run? And I'm not talking about just picking songs for the school dance. I mean influencing the curriculum, school policies, and yeah, even their own safety. Okay, let's dive into this because we're about to explore the incredible power of what's called student voice.
So let's just start with that big question right there. What if students weren't just passengers along for the ride in their own education? What if they were more like co-pilots, helping to navigate, checking the systems, maybe even charting the course? This isn't just some fantasy, it's a truly transformative idea that's already happening.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to define what learner voice actually means. Then we'll look at an amazing real-world example of students becoming safety detectives. After that, we'll get into the difference between truly listening and just, pretending to. And finally, we'll see how technology is cranking up the volume on these voices like never before.
All right, first up, what exactly is learner voice? It's all about moving way beyond the old suggestion box and stepping into a real active partnership. At its core, learner voice is pretty simple. It's the active involvement of students in the big decisions that shape their entire educational world. It means we stop seeing them as just empty buckets to pour information into. Instead, they become partners in the whole process, real stakeholders with a legit seat at the table.
And why does this matter so much? Well, the impact is huge. When students feel like they're actually being heard, their engagement just skyrockets. They're not just memorizing facts, they're developing real leadership skills. The whole school community gets stronger, more connected, and maybe most importantly, students get this powerful sense of ownership over their own learning.
Okay, so let's move from theory to practice. I want to show you this concept in action with a brilliant real-world case turning students into safety detectives. This is where student voice becomes tangible, visible change.
So check this out. In the Philippines, the Department of Education started a program called Student-Led School Watching and Hazard Mapping. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It puts students in charge of finding potential dangers in their own schools. We're talking everything from fire hazards to flood-prone areas, and then literally mapping them out.
And this isn't just some casual thing, it's a super organized four-step process. First, the students get trained on disaster risk reduction. Then they do a physical inspection of the school, school watching, to spot any hazards. From there, they create an actual visual map of all these risks. And then, and this is the key part, they present their findings and their recommendations directly to the school administration.
The results from this one project create this incredible ripple effect. The outcomes are so powerful. The students themselves are empowered with practical, hands-on knowledge. Their schools become measurably safer, and the entire community is way more prepared for emergencies. It is a win-win-win.
But, just having a program isn't quite enough. For student voice to be real, the listening from the adults has to be genuine. So what does authentic listening actually look like? This brings us to a really critical difference. On one side, you have tokenism. This is basically that suggestion box that just gathers dust in the corner. Students are asked for their opinions, sure, but then nothing happens. On the other side, you have genuine voice, and this is where student feedback directly leads to action, transforming them into true partners in shaping their school. So how do schools make that leap? Well, it starts by creating safe spaces where students feel like they can speak up without being judged. It means giving them a real seat on decision-making committees, not just token advisory ones. And so crucially, it means closing the feedback loop. You act on what they say, and then you communicate the results back to them. This is how you make sure that every voice is heard, not just the loudest ones.
Okay, in our final section, let's look at how modern technology is a total game changer for learner voice. These new tools are creating opportunities for students to participate in ways that just weren't even possible before.
And technology is a massive force multiplier here. I mean, think about it. Online surveys and forums. They give a voice to the quieter students who might never raise their hand in class. Instant polls can get you real-time feedback from a whole classroom in seconds. And creative tools like making videos or podcasts let students express complex ideas in really powerful new ways. These aren't just gadgets, they're platforms for building a more collaborative and inclusive school culture.
So what are the big takeaways here? What should you remember? Number one, learner voice isn't just about feedback, it's about partnership. It reframes students as co-creators of their own education. Second, students are this massive, untapped resource for solving real-world problems, just like that hazard mapping project proved.
And finally, maybe the most critical point of all, listening without acting is just noise. Real change only happens when student ideas lead to real-world results.
And I really want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. If students have the power to make their schools safer from physical disasters, just imagine what else they could achieve. What problems in our own communities could they solve if we just gave them a map, a voice, and a real chance to lead the way?